All right, let's light this candle.
Let's do it.
All right. So I am here today with the one in a million. Should I say million? Tyffany Million. Boy, are you so freaking impressive. A badass in front of the camera, a real life badass behind the camera. Man, you are, of course, uh, from Glow, a real life wrestler. Speaking of real life, a bounty hunter, which
Yes.
which was also encapsulated because you are a reality TV star, wife, mom, bounty hunter. You had a full season of that.
Yes.
You are in some of my favorite cult underground horror films, B movies, and of course, why we're on this show, a world famous adult film star. How many titles can you have?
Honey, I'm only just getting started. Wait do you see what's coming next?
Nice. And oh, everyone's gonna say Jason has to start this weird. Also, let me add one more to that list. My my spirit animal. I don't know. I just remembered this last night. I looked back a couple months ago to when we first started talking, and this was the actually I said hi first. So this was the second thing I told you. I was like, remember like 10 years ago when it was all in vogue and everyone was talking about, oh, my spirit animal is this. People still do it, but it was very popular a while ago. This is my spirit animal. And here's me, never met you. I said that whole spiel about the spirit animal, and then I said, my answer 10 years ago was my spirit animal is Crazy Daisy from Caged Fury. And that's you. You
That's me.
played you played Crazy Daisy in Caged Fury. That was my real answer. And
It's funny.
if
That
someone
movie has all of a sudden become so popular. Like I've heard a lot of people are just discovering it and are saying Crazy Daisy. Like here it is. How many years later? 36.
Well, that's funny you say that because if someone knew what I was talking about, I knew instantly that they were cool and we were instant friendship. Because some people are like, "Oh, I'm unaware to what that is," but some people were like, "Hell yeah!" And so that was instant friendship right there.
Awesome.
Oh man, so where do we start? I just listed five
You
genres.
tell me.
Listed five genres. Um, Well, today we are here to talk about shock. There, I just let the
Okay.
universe solve it for me. And shock is so cool. I just talked so much, but I'm going to say one more thing. You were going to, this is just for the audience. You were
Okay.
going to possibly be on All Celebrity Request March. Except go back to my little intro. You are a badass. You said yes. You said I would love to, except I'm chasing bad guys. I had a lot of answers, a couple no's, a couple yeses, but you're the only person that said, I'm hunting a bad guy. I can't do it."
I was on a 3-month surveillance assignment when you wanted me to do that. And yeah, about 8 or 9 of us were on rotation 24 hours around the clock doing surveillance. So I spent about 3 months sitting in a rental car staring at a particular location, waiting for a particular subject to move. And a couple of times the subject did move, and I ended up one time at Coronado Island in San Diego. One time I ended up at Grand Canyon because we have to follow the target wherever they go. And so the target takes off out of the location. I think the target is just going to the convenience store or something, and the target gets on the freeway and keeps going for hours. And I don't have anything with me but just my purse. I have nothing. So
Hmm.
yeah, where are they going to stop? Nobody knows. Yeah, one time the target took me all the way to Coronado Island, and I was the only investigator in tow. And if it wasn't for me following the person all the way there, they would have completely lost the investigation. So I saved the investigation. And then the next time the target took off, we thought maybe the target was just going across town to go shopping. No, they got on the freeway again. And about 6 hours later, I ended up at Grand Canyon, and I was there for 4 or 5 days.
Oh man. And this was just a couple months ago, so I would
Yeah.
assume that you are still doing this. This is current.
Well, yeah. I'm an Arizona licensed private investigator. I'm going to get my California license back here pretty soon because I started off as a California licensed private investigator, and I'm still a licensed bail bond agent, which enables me to bounty hunt anywhere in the state of Arizona.
Too cool. Have you ever had to put someone in cuffs and they look over at you and they name any of those five things? Like, whoa, she's from Glow, or she's from Shock, or
Just one time I had some guy, I had him in cuffs and he was in the back seat of my car and he was looking at me in the rearview mirror. And I saw him, he kept looking at me and I said, "Can I help you with something?" And he says, "I know who you are. I recognize you." I said, "Really, who am I?" He said, "You're that porn star." That and I go, "Okay." I go, "Well, that's nice, but you're still going to jail."
yeah. Man, you should have asked him to spell your name. Oh, you're a fan? That could be his. I'm just joking here, but that could be your get out of jail free card if you know how to properly spell Tiffany. Those are
So many
that's the
people fuck it up.
yeah, those are the scales. My brother is Ryan with an O, so Ryon, and no one has ever spelled his name right, and I've had to deal with that my whole life.
Oh,
He gets so upset that his name is never spelled correctly, and he's an actor, so it just slowly it kind of corrected itself after you see it on the screen so many times. Oh, it's Ryan with an O.
oh,
Um,
yeah, people have been bastardizing my name since the day I got in the business. It's just par for the course, I guess.
I just realized it was spelled incorrectly on IMDb. I've been
Yes, it
uh,
is.
in the last couple months, I've been realizing some places have it right. It's about a 50-50 crapshoot. I mean, it's probably not 50-50 to you. You probably notice it way more. But I'm just noticing that it's not spelled correctly a few different places.
Well, I think it's because when I was with the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, it was spelled the traditional way, which is Tiffany. And then when I went to adult and I chose my nom de porn, I wanted it to be, well, I wanted to use Tiffany Million, but I couldn't because Glow had trademarked it. So that's why I picked Tiffany Million because it was close to Tiffany Mellon. And
Uh,
then Tiffany Minx and I started the exact same day. Like we were both at Reb Sawwood's office, Pretty Girl International. And so her name was spelled Tiff. So to distinguish myself from her, I spelled it Tyff. And it just kind of stuck. But yeah, the industry, I think because Tiffany was my name in Glow and porn, but it was spelled traditionally, they get
mhm.
confused because the
Uh-huh.
names are so close.
Hmm.
Ain't no thing but a chicken wang, right?
Yep. And Tiffany Mellon, spelled traditionally. So you joined Glow, was it second and third season?
So there were 4 seasons. I was on the last 2 seasons,
Okay,
and I
three
was
and
very
four.
fortunate that I opened every single episode. So I was the first Glow Girl that you saw seasons 3 and 4 because I had that little comedy sketch called Tiffany's Glow Gossip. So
Hmm.
I would come up first thing after the last commercial, da na 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 na, the little housekeeping kind of music, and then hi everybody, Tiffany Mellon here with all the latest Glow Gossip. And then I would do my little comedy thing, and then we go ta ta now, and then it would roll into the rap. So I was very, fortunate to have that spot.
Uh-huh. It's so cool. Yeah, I've seen quite a few of those your gossip things. To anyone hearing our voice, you can watch a bunch of them on YouTube.
Oh yeah, as painful as it is for me, I sometimes I watch when I go home. My God,
Um,
I nailed that character though.
we have man, we are avoiding shock just by
Let's dive
happenstance.
into it.
Uh, but real quick, there is and this is I was just rewatching a different movie we are going to do this week because it is Tiffany Million week. But I saw you in uh the X Files, the Triple X Files, Lust in Space. which we will touch on. And I wanted to ask you, in your makeup, is there a hidden glow tribute? Because in your Igor character, you are in full makeup, and I noticed it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing, but I noticed like a squiggle up here, which was kind of your glow character, like Tiffany Mellon.
Yeah, the character's name in XXX Files was Spoda, which was a play on Yoda, right?
Uh-huh.
And I know what you're talking about. So I had painted some metallic and colored stripes up the side of my head. You know, I never really thought of it like that. Maybe subconsciously, that is where I got the idea from Glow. But
Uh-huh.
I did my own makeup. I did everything with that movie. I came up with the concept. I co-wrote the script. I designed the sets. I designed the cover. I came up with the idea for the characters. I dressed them. I mean, that movie is just me all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the AVN Award for Best Non-Sex Performance that year for playing Spoda, and I'm quite proud of my performance in that movie because, first of all, people never believe it's me. They go, "That's you." I was
Uh-huh.
actually walking around on my knees to play that character with tennis shoes, Converse tennis shoes, tied to my legs.
Uh-huh.
And then I had a pillow under the lab coat to make me into a hunchback. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think I really nailed that character. That was so much fun to play that with Ron Jeremy. We just bounced right off each other.
Yeah.
And a lot of
Well,
it was unscripted. We just kind of ran with it.
that's awesome. And you did such a good job. You deserve to win Best Non-Performing Role. Man, what was it like to be Tyffany Million, someone who literally millions of people think is beautiful, and now you're going to give yourself, well, can you hear that? Thunder.
Monsoon?
No, huge thunder up in the mountains of Flagstaff.
Yeah,
Okay,
monsoons are breaking. Yeah, here
yeah,
too.
okay, stay on track, Jason. You owned Immaculate Video Conceptions,
Yeah.
uh, and so you started write, direct, and produced. But back to what I was trying to say before that thunder. Uh, so you give yourself a very, some would say, unflattering role to be a little lab assistant Yoda hunchback, going from someone who literally so many people are in worship. What was that like? And
Oh,
and and what a payoff.
it's so much fun to play against type. You know, I love to play against type because the real me is a very bubbly, kind of a flower child. Like I love everybody. I'm always in a good mood. I'm always happy. I'm very kind to people. You don't push your luck with me. You're going to find out real quick that I have my boundaries. But um, I'm a very chill, just kind of roll with things person. So that role was a chance for me to only not only to play against type but to show my comedic timing because I'm pretty damn good at comedy, and that's my favorite thing to do. So it gave me a chance to do that. You don't get a lot of that in porn biz, right? There's not a lot of comedy roles, especially for women.
Uh-huh.
So I took advantage of it, and I'm very, very proud of that movie. I mean, I love how we took the pie plates and made flying saucers and had them on fishing line. You know, that movie was intended to be kind of a mishmash of the biggest science fiction hits of the prior like 25, 30 years. So there's a little Star Trek in there. There's a little Lost in Space in there. There's the X Files. There's I can't even remember what else, but we took so many elements from so many different sci-fi hits and wove them in to that movie.
Well,
And
I was gonna say there's even some Plan 9 outer space with your flying saucer.
that's right. Yeah, yeah. And then I don't know if you understood the very end, but the end was a tribute to oh, what's the director's name? He was a cross dresser and
Ed Wood.
Ed Wood, yes, thank you. It's been a while. So the end of that movie is a tribute to Ed Wood, and not a lot of people got that, where he goes,
Mhm.
and cut. And then the camera pans, and there's the fake director in black and white sitting off camera, and everybody comes up to him like they used to when he really did shoot films and shake his
Uh-huh.
hand and say, "Thank you, Mr. Wood. It's been a pleasure, Mr. Wood." He used to make sure that he shook hands with the cast and crew at the end of every shoot day.
Uh-huh.
So that's why everybody does that. And he was a cross dresser. So it was just kind of a nod to him, you know?
That's so good. And that is
Yeah.
coming up later this week. We also have more immaculate video conceptions coming up later on.
Oh, and I'd like to comment about the name.
Okay.
So, Immaculate Video Conceptions is a nod to my Catholic school upbringing, right? And I like because my mother had me going to Catholic Christian school from third grade until I graduated. And I actually went to an all girls Catholic high school, which Julie Strain and I went to the same high school. Um, and so I like to tell my mom, I go, Mom, how does it feel to know that the only thing I got out of all those years of Catholic school education was a name for my porn production company?
That's awesome. Um, so Shock, 1996.
Well, that's when it came out, but we actually filmed it in 94.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I left the business in spring of 95.
Okay. There's a lot of special effects in it. Was it that much post-production?
Oh, yeah, the majority of that movie was shot on a green screen. Yeah. Yeah, Michael Nin is quite a genius. You know, he comes from the mainstream world. He's got to start shooting like Budweiser commercials. Excuse me. And yeah, those movies were way ahead of their time. You
Hmm.
know, he's doing a lot of similar stuff these days. He's creating full-length feature films from AI, and he and I are still friends to this day. He's one of only three people that I stayed friends with for the 30 years that I was gone from the
Okay.
industry. Hmm.
Very cool. And
Yeah, I starred in all four of his biggest hits.
very artistic, super
Yes,
cool. He's been on the show quite a few times. Man, and this is an audience favorite, award winning. And we have already done Latex, which is technically part one. Now we're doing
yes.
Shock, which is we're going to close it. And you played Dr. Mangrove, and Dr. Mangrove is so cool. You are so bookish in part one in Latex. And John
Very
Doe,
straight laced.
yeah, very straight. Like bookish is like me being like nice. You're kind of like a pretty nerd scientist. John Doe touches you and just turns you to the dark
Sees
side.
inside of my head, and I'm
Yeah,
aware of it. Yeah.
yeah, he drives you nuts, and or it drives you dark, and that's what we get to see in part two. we
Yes.
uh, we open, there's no more. I was wondering if Dr. Mangrove was going to go back to nerdy scientist, but no, you come in full leather, smoking a cigarette, cussing.
Gangbusters.
You're quoting movies. You're quoting Apocalypse Now. I think one of my
Smells
cousins.
like victory.
Yeah. um. Um. Oh, it's so good. I love it. I called you Dr. Manlove. I don't know if you've ever watched our episode on latex, but I was watching it, and at the very end, I misspoke. I was like, "Holy shit!" Uh, I believe I said Dr. Mangrove, and then I get to the very end where I'm talking about all the specific roles, and I just rewound it. I said, "What did I just say?" Maybe I was just in love with Tyffany Million. I changed your name to Dr. Manlove. I was like, "What?" And I didn't
You
catch
know,
it.
a little insider story about latex, and I'm going to be clean because this is Squeaky Clean Adult Films, okay? If you watch my scene, you know what I'm referring to in that movie. Keep in mind that that guy that they paired me with, who was playing kind of like the orderly in the straight part, and then in my fantasy, I'm with him.
Mhm.
He was, it was his very first time ever being in an adult film. And the silly gooses put him with me. So what do you think happens?
Yeah.
It wasn't happening at all. So when you watch that scene and you see me literally clawing the walls and just all this like sexual energy, just know that there was nothing anywhere near me. I was completely solo. And they do show a few shots where you actually see the goods, but we shot those after we finished that scene. John Doe was actually the stand-in for that guy because he couldn't get his equipment functioning because I made him nervous. I mean, yeah, put him with me, right? The freaking
Uh-huh.
animal, first time out the gate, they put him with me. So all of those shots that you see where you see actual equipment, we shot those afterwards with John Doe, and they inserted that, no pun intended, into the scene.
Oh man, that's some awesome inside info.
Yeah, yeah, that guy was not, it was not happening at all. And I told Michael, Michael was really scared because this was like the big scene of the movie. And so I said, honey, I got this. Watch me work. So he's like, okay, Tiff, I'm counting on you. You would have never freaking known it. You would have never known that I was solo. Man, I sold that shit. That comes from wrestling, right? You sell
Uh-huh.
it.
That's so
I
cool.
sold it.
Well, here, let me ask you another inside question that I cannot find out through Google.
Okay.
Um, so Michael Nin, who is Dino Nin and Earl Nin? I've been told one of those are Michael. Not Dino. Dino Nin, who does all his music. Clearly,
Dino's black, just so you know.
okay. So did they all just like say, "Hey, let's use the same name," or are they all related, or what? I don't
No,
even.
no, they're not related. No, Dino, I can't remember his real name, but you can see him in the movie. He's playing some background characters. He's a black guy. He kind of looks a little bit like oh, what's his name? From the Commodores, Richie.
Yeah,
Lionel Richie. He kind of looks a little bit like a young Lionel Richie, but Earl Nin is another guy that worked on the movie, but they all decided to use the last name Nin, I guess.
yeah,
But just so you don't know, Dino's black.
cool. I can't tell you how many times I have Googled, no offense to Earl, how many times I've Googled, is Michael Nin and Dino Nin brothers?
Well, brothers maybe, but not brothers. No,
Okay, awesome. Um, okay, so part two, you're a badass. You get
I'm a
to,
bounty hunter.
well, here's the thing. Hold on, let me check my notes so I don't get this wrong.
Was that prophetic or what?
I know. No, I wrote it down. Okay. Government sanctioned. So they call you in. They call in this new badass Dr. Mangrove. They call you in shock, to track down John Doe in this other world.
Yes,
Because, hold on, I'm going to check one more time. I don't even care if I don't them. Because you are the only government
human
sanctioned
sanctioned
agent in
agent.
psycho tracking, which
Yes,
is kind of what you now do. Okay, okay. So hold on. If this was shot in 94 and came out in 96, when did the bounty hunting start?
2004 is when I first got into it. When I lived
Okay.
in California still.
So you were
So
you were psycho tracking for 10 years before you started bounty hunting.
I guess
That
Dr.
ha
Mangrove.
that has to be like an inside joke between you guys.
Oh my gosh! Talk about art is life or life is art or what do they call it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's funny how that 10 years later it actually came true, and I was a real life bounty hunter.
That's one of the first things that I popped up. I cut shock for um all celebrity request March just in case your mission was done. So I cut it months ago. But when I went to go look through my notes, that was the first thing I wrote down. I was like, that is too much of a coincidence.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was such a fun character to play, Dr. Mangrove, and to be able to transition her from being this very acerbic, uh, antiseptic, very straight-laced, very contained character to just breaking loose, after John Doe gets a hold of her. Yeah. And then we find out at the end of Shock that the entire thing happened in her mind. It didn't even really happen.
Yep. Let's see here. And man, what a power crew. Directed by Michael Ninn, written by Anthony Lovett, produced by Jane Hamilton.
Yes.
which is everyone knows is Veronica Hart. I mean, that is just I mean, even if you've never seen the movie, just if you see it on paper, you're like, and plus your cast is amazing. Your showdown with Ona Z before you go into the other world and you guys are battling back and forth and you're like, I want full tenure. I mean, the cast and crew so impressive.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I starred in his first two hit movies too, Sex Part 1 and 2. Sex Part 1 and then Sex Part 2 was called Fate. And after I did those two movies, he looked me straight in the eye and he said, Tyffany Million, you will be in every film I ever do from this moment forward. And so then he put me in Latex and Shock, gave me those two juicy roles. And then shortly thereafter is when I left the biz due to some personal tragedy that happened to me. I didn't intend to leave and I didn't intend to stay away. Just life happens, you know.
Oh,
Um, but I would have loved to have continued working with Michael because he's a visionary, he's an artist, and you know, I'm the same way. I'm very visionary, I'm very artistic, and in so many different respects. So I get where he's coming from. I get him, and we were actually friends offset. We used to go to lunch all the time. I'd go to his house and hang out with him and his wife, Q, and his kids. And okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
And I can hear you. Okay. I don't know if I told you. So, my business partner and I said, you know, you haven't seen nothing yet. I'm just getting started. So, um, my business partner and I are in the process of opening an adult talent agency, and I'm just waiting for the state of California to approve our application any day. It had to be corrected. There were some things I guess I didn't do right or whatever. So I submitted corrections back to the state, and I'm just waiting. Um, so I'll be running an adult talent agency, and we have a reality TV show based on the agency. So as soon as I get licensed, then my company that's shooting my reality show and my documentary are going to start following me around. We're going to start shooting footage for the reality show, and it's the agency is called X Agency Models. And then I'm going back to mainstream, so I'm under an NDA, so I can't give you specifics, but I'm co-starring in a film that's going to shoot in Nashville in February. And my co-star is a pretty well-known R&B artist, black guy, and he's making his way into films. And he chose me as his co-star because he's a big fan. So, you know, it's really cool because I'm going back to mainstream. And then I have 3 films that I'm doing between now and next summer for a company out of New York. One is a horror film, one is a thriller, and one is a tearjerker. So between now and next summer, I will be in 4 mainstream films, a documentary. My book should be out, and my reality TV show should start coming on the air. So I'm going to be real busy and
dang.
run the agency.
Man, that's tons. Well, you probably won't need it for half of that stuff, but if you ever need it for any of the behind the scenes or of the new agency, if you ever need help in post-production, I have 3 editing bays at Barefoot, and we only use one. So if you ever need help in post, I can designate you your own station.
Oh, how great. That's great. Yeah.
So just keep that idea in your back pocket.
I mean, I don't handle any of the posts. That's all up to the production company, but that's good to know. Like if we need a local facility,
Yeah.
you know, they're out of New York City, and then they also have offices in Jacksonville, Florida. And then the other one that I'm shooting in February with the R&B star, they're based out of Atlanta.
Okay. You want to know something crazy?
Hmm.
One of my college roommates, one of the founding members of the Broken Spoons, which is a film troupe I was in, um, which we were huge in Nashville. Our main company when the Broken Spoons became Barefoot and Independent was I worked on Music Row. When I graduated from film school, everyone went to New York or LA, and I went to Nashville. I went to Music Row. I worked in Honky Tonk Hollywood. But
Honky Tonk, of course. Yeah. Central. Yeah.
but my college roommate, he's from New York, and he just went back home, and he worked in Astoria for the production company, the Post, because it was shot in I think Hawaii and Denver.
Hmm.
My buddy worked on all 9 seasons of Dog the Bounty Hunter. His name's on
I'm sorry.
every single episode of every single season. So I don't know if that was your competition or if you guys were I don't know, friendly or not
Oh yeah,
friendly.
we were friendly. As a matter of fact, every time he and his wife Beth, rest her soul, would get into a fight, he would call me and ask me if I was still with my husband. And then, I'd be like, well, Dwayne, yeah, I'm very happily married. And then we'd get off the phone, and a few minutes later, I'd either get a phone call or a text from Beth saying, "Stay away from my husband, you
Oh
bitch."
man.
And I'd be like, Beth, I wouldn't date your husband if he was the last man on earth. No worries.
Uh-huh.
So Dog actually wanted to do a reality show featuring, so there were three bounty hunter TV shows, right? So there was mine, Wife, Mom, Bounty Hunter. There was his, Dog the Bounty Hunter. And then there was a third one called Family Bonds. And I don't know if you
Mhm.
remember that one.
I do.
So Dog had this, what I thought was a brilliant idea. He wanted to create a new reality show that would pit our three teams against each other. We would each get the same
Nice.
case file. Whichever team got the guy, arrested the guy was the winner. So it would be a competition between these three reality show bounty hunters. And Beth actually put the kibosh on it because she was jealous of me and didn't
Oh,
want him having anything to do with me. But I think that would have been a great show.
it would have been a very interesting spin. It
And of
would have
course,
been like
I would have won every time.
what was what was that combo on MTV? I think it was called like Real World Road Rules, where
Yeah.
they combined the two shows. So it would have been kind of like that.
Yeah, yeah. And I used to give him such a hard time too because he would always say on his show that he didn't use guns because he didn't believe in them. I'd say, "Come on, Dwayne, get real. You don't use guns because you're a convicted felon and you can't be within 500 feet of a gun. We use real guns on my show, Dwayne."
Yeah. Okay, well, we had a little bit of an intermission and we are back. I have one question. Well, I have a couple, but I have one
Okay.
question that I really wanted to ask you. Since this is Tyffany Million week, our last week was Gregory Dark week, and you happened to, in 1993, in your mainstream roles and in your adult roles, same year, in 1993, you worked for Gregory Dark. It was
Yes.
New Wave Hookers 3 and the Cassavetes. What is it?
Uh, that was uh,
Bad
that
Influence.
was Body of Influence.
Bad Influence. Or was it
Body of
Body of It?
Influence.
Body of
Yeah.
Influence.
And then I was also in his two Crease Master movies. So I starred in The Crease Master and The Crease Master's Wife.
Uh-huh.
So I was in four Gregory Dark films. And, I loved working with Greg because he's got that kind of twisted imagination, and I relate to that. He's a true artist and he's kind of twisted.
Uh-huh.
And his stuff was very different. Like The Crease Master's Wife and The Crease Master, those movies are very, and even New Wave Hookers, very, very different from anything else that was being produced at the time by really a true artist along the lines of a Michael Nin.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and Greg was a lot of fun to work for because he always had these wild ideas and he was always willing to push the boundaries. And I love that.
Did you get special treatment since you were in so many of his movies?
No, I didn't ask for special treatment. So, I mean, it takes a village to make it happen, right? Nobody's more important than the next person, whether you're lighting the set or you're, the grip or the makeup person or the star. It takes all of us to make it happen. I'm very much a team player. And I believe that everybody is essential, which they are, to making sure that this thing happens. So I never like had that attitude. I was never a diva. I never asked for special treatment because to me, I was just another worker on a project.
Uh-huh. Very cool. 1993. Do you remember? Do you happen to remember which one was first?
I
Probably not.
think New Wave Hookers was first. Um, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was New Wave Hookers because then he saw how I worked and he cast me in Crease Master and Crease Master's Wife. And then I got the box cover for Crease Master's Wife, of course, where I'm in this beautiful white latex wedding outfit. It's really beautiful box cover. I have it on my drive, but yeah, one of the more fun people to work with for sure because he was dark and twisted and I love that.
Yeah, Michael, um, you got Michael Nin. You got to work with so many artistic people. And one of my favorites, I'll never get this name right, and I've never even seen it. This movie is so hard to find, but I've seen stills from it, no motion. So I would assume it is a lot like Party Dollar Go-Go by Steven Sadian, but you were in the Cowgirls thing. Part what is
Oh
it?
yeah, Untamed Cowgirls, The Wild West. Yeah.
Untamed Cowgirls of the Wild West 1 and 2. Like I said, I've seen still photography from it, and it looks almost identical to Party Dollar Go-Go, which also had a 1 and 2, also Steven Sadian, couple of the same people, very that weirdo artsy like Party Dollar Go-Go was the hardest movie I ever cut because it wasn't like scenes, it was fractions of ideas and sentences. You know,
Hmm.
like Jenna finds and the editing too. She like it's camera one, and that I would love to get my mitts on that Steven Sadian. I'm going to assume masterpiece because I'm
I
in love
have
with Party Dollar Go-Go.
I have either one or two on my Google Drive, Untamed Cowgirls, The Wild West. I have my scenes. Those were done by, he went by the name Rince Dream
Yep.
in the adult business. Yeah.
Hmm.
You know, a lot of these guys also had mainstream careers. Like I started in a film called Ecstasy, and it was a big budget adult film. And that movie was directed by Robert McCallum, whose real name is, oh God, Greg something, not Greg Dark, but he's very good friends with Fred Olin Ray. They were best friends. And so
That
he produced regular films, but when he did adult, he went by Robert McCallum. Well, I was
there.
in a movie for Fred Olin Ray called Spirits. I had this great scene with Eric Estrada where I played the demon nun. And
Mhm.
Fred and I were talking on Facebook a few months ago, and I didn't say anything that, hey, I was in your movie or anything. I figured he wouldn't know me. I just had one scene in his film. And he goes, Sandra Margot, did you or did you not play the demon nun in my movie Spirits? And I go, oh my God, you're right. You remembered me from like 19. It was just a little 45-second scene. But
Uh-huh.
now we're friends. We chat all the time on Messenger. So I've been reconnected with him. But
Mhm.
yeah, he was Gary Graver. Okay,
Gary
so
Graver.
Robert McCallum's real name is Gary Graver. And Gary Graver is a mainstream film director. He's deceased now, and so is his girlfriend, Jillian. She was my double in Ecstasy. But yeah, that was a big budget film.
Yep.
And a lot of these guys did. They had a pseudonym for when they did adult. Even Chris Carter, the director of the X Files, did some adult films under a different name, and he and I are good friends. I got a big story about him, and he loved my movie, The XXX Files, and requested a copy of it. So I brought it down to him and David Duchovny in person.
That's so awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
Gary Graver is one of my favorites. One of my favorites.
yeah. So
Amazing.
he did Ecstasy. That's a big film that I was in, really big budget film, great acting. We shot on location. We shot in New Orleans. We shot in San Francisco. We shot in downtown LA. That's back when they had, big budgets. And I got to ride a horse at the beginning of that movie. And then there's another series of films that I did that are also very artistic and very well done called Climax 2000 Part 1 and 2.
Mhm.
And that was a real complex character that I got to play in that one. And the final scene in part 2, I really acted my ass off in that one. I had to like lose it and go psycho. And I remember the whole room getting quiet when I did. Like, holy shit, did she just do what we thought she did? And that day I was set to go see the Who. Was it the Who? No, it was Pink Floyd. I was set to go see Pink Floyd at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, and I was trying to get out of there because the concert was starting. And so I was like, I got to nail this first try, right? I got to nail this. So when they said action, I was like, I just like did this meltdown, and everybody's like, and the director goes, and cut. And I go, awesome, I'm off to Pink Floyd. You guys have a good day.
That's so
I mean, I
cool.
can like snap into and out of character, in a flash.
Hmm. Yeah, those climax movies were awesome as well.
Yeah, those are really good.
Those are my that's Michael Ninn, isn't it?
No, no, Climax 2000 is oh God, Buck Adams was in that with me, and his sister Amber Lynn is my best friend to this day. Oh man, I can't remember who did it. It was a big one though. It was one of the big directors at the time.
Yeah, yeah, it was big.
Yeah, and again, I got to play some really cool characters in these films, and I got a reputation after starring in the Michael Ninn films for being able to handle really heavy dialogue, and it was unfortunate that I had some really bad things happen in my life in late '94, early '95 that forced me into a kind of a hiatus. And I only intended to be gone long enough to deal with my personal problems. And then while I was on hiatus from adult, my mainstream agent, Sherry Spillane, she's deceased now. She died 2 years ago, but she got her last name from the famous writer Mickey Spillane, who is her ex-husband. Sherry got me this job doing radio. I went and auditioned for it and I nailed it. So I did that for like 4 years. And that's why I didn't come back to adult. I was really enjoying doing radio. And that was a whole nother career that people don't know about.
Yeah. Man, so many hats.
Yeah, quite a
How
few.
how many adult film people were Tiffany, like directors or actors, but I guess we're kind of talking about directors. How many adult film people were fans of Tiffany Mellon? Were fans of you as the wrestler?
The two worlds really didn't cross a whole lot like
Oh,
you think
really?
they would. I used that name because I wanted my wrestling fans to be able to easily identify me when I moved into adult. And most
Hmm.
people, it was lost on them. Like the joke of the name was lost on them. I actually wanted my nom de porn to be Mary Christian, which is a play on Mary, M-A-R-Y, and Mary, M-E-R-R-Y, as in happy Christian, right?
Hmm.
Again, a nod to my Catholic school upbringing.
Uh-huh.
Anything to piss off the nuns, I'm all for it, right? Um, yeah, so that's why I chose that name. But yeah, they didn't really make the connection that Tyffany Million and Tyffany Mellon from Glow are the same person. And even to this day,
Yeah.
people will see me on social media. They'll say, "Oh, you were one of the original Glow girls." I'm like, Tyffany Million? Hello?
Well, see, I have the power of hindsight, so I can look at a whole career and to me it's like different branches of the same tree, but yeah, I guess when you were in it, maybe not a lot of crossover.
No, and when I started producing and directing, when I started my company, I was highly discouraged from doing it. I was told because I wanted to do slapstick comedy or visual comedy with adult. And everybody said it's not going to work. You're wasting your money. It'll never sell. And I was really discouraged. I mean, women back then were not on that side of the camera, right? We were supposed to be stupid, shut up and do our job and look pretty and,
Uh-huh.
do whatever. Um, so yeah, I was really highly discouraged, but telling me no is an invitation, right? So the more they told me no and you can't do it, the more I was determined. And
Hell yeah.
my very first film was called Jailhouse Cock. And I came up with the idea to that one as I was waking up. Like I always have my best ideas when I first wake up, but I was just waking up and all of a sudden the characters just came to me, the storyline came to me, and I grabbed my notebook and I wrote it down and had it
Hmm.
turn into a script. And it's a good movie. It's really clever. And then Generally Horny Hospital was second. XXX Files was third. My fourth one was called Tyffany Million's Dirty Little Mind, which to this day, I wish I could find it. You can find it, but it's dubbed in a different language. You cannot find it in English anywhere. We have tried and tried and tried.
Oh man. Where would the masters be? Like where's the raw footage?
Your question is as good. Your answer is as good as mine. So when I got out of the business in '95, a year later, I sold the company because I didn't think I'd ever go back. And hindsight is 2020. I wish those are gold now, right? I wish I wouldn't have sold it.
Yeah.
But I could do it again. The problem is nobody wants to pay for a feature these days.
Yeah.
Everything is like internet based and it's all clips and it's all grotesque and a freak show. And nobody appreciates the art of creating true erotica anymore. I'd love to,
Hmm.
but nobody wants to pay the money because everybody's like, oh, it's all free on the internet. Well, then that's why there's no quality product anymore.
Yeah. Hey, I'm writing a story. I've been working on three different ones, story-driven adult films. I don't know if any producer would ever make it, but I got in the film business in 1997, independent film business, and I
Hmm.
have directed like an art house drama shot on 16 millimeter film, a documentary, and an exploitation film. And we are in pre-production of my horror film. And if I get my own way before I die, I'm gonna have one of everything: a western, a romantic comedy, and I want one of those to be a straight up porn. And I want it to have, I mean, who knows? I mean, I just want to write it, but I want it to say Jason Heath too. Even though it would be fun to pick out an adult film name,
Yeah.
I love story driven. I mean, I've been doing this for
Yeah, me too.
9 years. I've edited 350. This will be 354. 9 years worth of working with story driven adult films. So if I can get a script produced, I want that thing to say Jason Heath on it. It's proud.
Damn.
It's proud. So when I'm dead and you looking back on the lore, you can go, oh, horror film, documentary, comedy, porno. I want one of everything.
A smorgasbord. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
when you get ready to do any of that, you want me to involve, let me know. I'm always down to do a cameo or something, you know?
Cool.
Uh, yeah, because I mean, I've done so many different things, and there's so many things that I've been in that people aren't even aware of. Like, you know, you can go to my IMDb and it's not even complete. Like, I could add some things to that, but you know, everything from I did a lot of cult classic horror films in the 80s and late 80s and early 90s, like Spirits and Demon Wind and Cage Fury and um uh The Sleeping Car. I'm in The Sleeping Car, the beginning of that one. Gosh, I'm in like a dozen cult classic. I'm in Kill Kill Overkill. I have a pretty nice part in that one.
Hmm.
And that one I actually have on my YouTube channel, my clips from it, and some of my social media. But I did quite a lot before I got into adult. And now I'm getting back out there again. You know, honestly, Jason, I'm just grateful that anybody even remembers who the F I am anymore, right?
Yeah. Oh man, you are well, here's a great insult. I mean insult. Here's a great compliment, especially from me. But you are and this is hard to pull off. A straight up megastar and a cult film star. Like, how do you even pull that off? How are you a megastar that everyone knows and recognizes, but also a cult film star? Like, you just listed a couple of them, but what about John Carl Buechler? I know it's very
Yes, I have
small, but
stories about him.
Ghoulies 3. You're in.
Ghoulies good. So John Carl Buechler actually played the lead role in The Sleeping Car, and my scene is with him.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
That's
he
so
played the
cool.
train conductor with the melted face, and he's the one that catches me and this male actor by the name of David. I can't remember his name, David something. He catches us getting down in the sleeping car of a train and walks in on us, and the train crashes because of him chiding us about having sex on the train. So the whole train just crashes, derails, and that's where he becomes the monster. But I worked with him several times. I worked with him young. He did the he did a lot of like behind the scenes like props and stuff for Ghoulies Go to College. But I was
Mhm.
kind of in that whole little group. So you had John Carl Buechler, you had Fred Olin Ray, you had Don Jackson, Donald G. Jackson, who was a very good friend of mine. And these guys were all cult classic directors and producers. I mean, Chris Roth was our sound and financier and editor for Kill Kill Overkill. So I mean, that was back in the day when like Michelle Bauer and Brink Stevens, all of us were working on these films together.
Hell yeah.
And I kind of come from that little pool of people,
Uh-huh.
you know, from the late 80s. David Hebner was in my group. Tony Curtis, I shot a movie with him called Prime Target. I'm in that movie. Um, yeah, so and people don't realize like how much other stuff I've done. Like adult was just a chapter in my life, right?
Well, you did, and this is just, and amen to that. But you did back to back, and this is something that when I was jotting some notes down, I was like, hey, Tiffany Million, Eric Estrada, Evil Spirits, Tiffany Million, Eric
Yeah, she's called
Estrada,
Spirits. Yeah.
Cage Fury. He's in you're in two movies with Eric Estrada back to back.
Yeah, back to back. I worked with Eric actually on a couple of radio spots too. And there's a funny little backstory or a behind the scenes story about spirits. So if you ever see, that of me in makeup as the demon nun, and it's on the cover of the movie. So I actually made the cover. But that prosthetic makeup that I have, it took about 4 or 5 hours. And so I was already in the makeup chair when Eric came to the set that day, and I was pretty much done. And so he saw me when I first walked in, like before they put the makeup on me. Yeah.
I have
And
a
so he
random
kind of
picture
like,
of it on my phone.
oh, yeah. So Eric saw me when I walked in, and then I went to the makeup room and I disappeared for a few hours. So he comes in the makeup room and he sees me and he goes, "Are you that same pretty girl that walked in here a few hours ago?" And I said, "Actually, Eric, this is what I really look like." It took him about 4 hours to take the pretty girl makeup off.
That's so awesome.
He never forgot that. Yeah.
Very
Because
cool.
when I did the Danny Bonaducci show, he was there. He was the guest before me, and he remembered me. And he said, "Ah, you're that lady that played the demon nun with me." So he remembered.
Hell yeah. Um, what? I don't know why the spirits, Fred Olin Ray. Well, first off, to kind of circle back, Fred Olin Ray and Gary Graver are two of my favorite people on earth.
And they were best friends.
Yeah, they worked.
Hmm.
I mean, it was almost a joke. Like Gary Graver was always either with, and how crazy is this sentence? Gary Graver was always either with Fred Olin Ray or Orson Welles. The dude had
Yes.
he had two like BFFs in the film world, and that is just so amazing. Um, but Fred, he owns Retro Media. He's put
Yeah.
out, I have a whole stack of his own movies. He has to, I don't know why he hasn't put out Spirits yet.
And he's doing it right now. That's why we were talking, because he's in the process of digitizing it right now. And so he emailed me a couple of still shots of myself from Spirits. One is of the 300 DPI, so I can print them off, which I just had done. So when I go to Chiller Theater in October, I'm going to bring those with me to autograph. First time ever, pictures of me as the demon nun. But he
Mhm.
said that as soon as he's done digitizing Spirits, he's going to make a copy of it available for me. So I have the digitized version too, but he's doing it right now.
Oh, that's so cool.
And that's what we talk about.
I check on it every once in a while. I've got like a little account at Retro Media, and I think I have. Oh, look at this is all right here. Fred Olin Ray, Evil Tunes,
Yeah.
Scalps, Jacko, Scream Queen, Hot Tub Party, and Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. And then if you
Yeah,
order
that's a
stuff from him,
classic right there. Yeah.
he also sends you like freebies. So man, it's and I already told you this in an email, but um and we have a mutual friend, the director Newt Wallen. He's a big time director, and he is friends with Fred Olen Ray, and we constantly are telling people, and I've already told you this in an email, that no one on earth, anyone, no one can beat Fred Olen Ray on a director's commentary. And there's a few people like Paul Thomas Anderson is really good, and Steven
Yeah,
Soderbergh,
PT. Mhm.
and people are constantly talking about how good of commentaries they do, and they're super mainstream Hollywood. And I have to remind all these people, and I've got quite a few victories too. I tell anyone in the film world, I said, well, you have to listen to a Fred Olen Ray commentary and then get back to me. And I've had one of my brother's friends and another guy from online that have actually said, oh my God, I bought Evil Tunes, which is insane. It's like the low budget Who Framed Roger Rabbit,
Yeah.
which Gary Graver made with Fred Olen Ray, and they have all those actors, which Madison Stone and Barbara Dare are both in Evil Tunes, and they had to act with no one, and then they shot plates and put the cartoons in later. And so it's like the B movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but it is just genius of how Rob Zemeckis makes, Roger Rabbit for millions and millions and millions. And these two underground, heroes of mine, they make Evil Tunes for, I don't even think it was 500,000. I think it was like
Yeah.
close to like $400,000 and shot on 35 millimeter. I'm like, how do these two film geniuses pull that off? Um,
And I'm surprised. Do you know who Donald G. Jackson is? Because he was also a best friend of Fred Olen Ray. And Don is actually the one that introduced me to Fred and got me the part in Spirits. But Don is famous for doing, and he's deceased now, but we were very close friends. And he did Hell Comes to Frogtown, Grunt the Wrestling Movie, Rollerblade, Kill Kill Overkill, which the working title was Twisted Fate. And then they turned around and called it Kill Kill Overkill. But he was also from that little pool, and he and Fred were very close. So Fred's really best friends in the business were Don Jackson and Gary Graver, and they were all friends, and I knew all of them. I
yeah.
worked with all of them.
Don is a badass too.
Yeah.
Frogtown is one of the ultimate cult classics.
Yes. Hell Comes to Frogtown. Yeah.
So good, so good.
Yeah.
Okay, I just got the 10-minute time. We got 10 minutes on the clock. I have one thing that I wanted to bring up for well, hold on real quick. Um, of course you did the in shock you had the apocalypse now. Um, actually you said brain matter. So
Gray matter.
I love the smell of
I love the smell of gray matter in the morning. Smells like
victory.
victory.
But now this is a little bit lesser known, but you get to say, and I wonder if it's an homage to David Lynch, but you get to say, let's rock in shock. And in Twin Peaks, the TV show, uh, the dwarf says it backwards, right when they're getting ready to go to the spirit world, he goes, let's rock. And then in Twin Peaks, the movie, they also say, let's rock. And then when they made Twin Peaks The Return 25 years later, they had Laura Dern, she had to say it. So it's one in each of the Twin Peaks. She says, let's rock. And there's a very distinct scene in this movie, Shock, where you get to say, is a dramatic pause, and you go, let's rock. And I
Let's
wondered
rock.
if that was just something cool to say, or if that was actually like an homage to Twin Peaks.
So I actually ad-libbed that in there. It
Okay.
just kind of came out of me.
Uh,
And it's funny you should say David Lynch because my lifelong best friend, Skip Peterson, was married to David's daughter and they have a child together. And
ooh,
I used to always hear the stories about what a bastard David was.
oh no.
That was his father-in-law. But yeah,
Uh-huh.
that just kind of came out of me. I can't remember what the original line was, but they just went with it. It just felt so natural. And so
Hmm.
I go, the line before I said with full tenure. And
Hmm.
and Ona Z says, of course, with full tenure. And I take a drag off my cigarette. I kind of looked at everybody and it just came out of me. I go, let's rock.
Yep.
And Michael loved it. He was like, yeah.
Uh-huh. That's so cool. That's so cool. I'm glad I asked that question.
There's
One
lots of
other,
behind the scenes stuff I could tell you. I mean, we could go on all day.
um, I don't want to bring the room down. I love, love, love. Speaking of Steven Sadian, Rinse Dream, I got a bunch of his movies too. Um, I love Jenna Fine. And so, how weird is it that in this movie, it like made my I don't know how to it didn't make my it made like my insides cave in for a second because obviously she just passed away and it was
Yeah.
much clear it was when I cut this movie was like 4 months ago. She literally had just passed away. And in shock, she has this dramatic, so artistic scene. The light is pointing through her back, so you're seeing like all
Yes.
these shots, and then there's open shutter and doves, and she freaking floats to heaven. I was
Yeah.
like, holy shit. Um, I wasn't expecting that. Uh, so that just kind of I don't know, pulled at my
She was
heartstrings.
also in my movie, The Triple X Files, Lust in Space.
Of course she
So
was.
she and Jill Kelly, when Jill Kelly was before like she was even known, because I'm the one that got her in the business. She and I were friends for many years, and then I got her in the business, and the rest is history, of course. But my film, The XXX Files, was one of the first movies she ever did, and she did it for me as a favor because we were friends.
Hmm. I love Jenna in the Lust in Space. And I love,
Yeah, she was
speaking of
great.
when people are breaking characters, I'm not going to be able to nail the line verbatim, but they're both talking to, I think it's PJ Sparks, and they're
Mhm.
doing like their robot stuff.
Robots, yeah.
Yeah, and Jenna just breaks for a second. They're like, yakety schmacking, being artistic, and she just stops and goes, "She means she needs to use your phone," and then goes right back to robot. It was so funny. I think she does that twice though in the actual movie where they're
Yeah,
doing the.
we used to do that a lot in all the movies that I produce. I love out having people break character and look at the camera and kind
Uh-huh.
of make eye contact with the audience, connect with them. I really like doing that a lot. It was one of my tools.
So good.
There's
Okay.
a in joke in the background of both those movies of the Triple X Files and Generally Horny Hospital. You'll see a guy walking around with a big plant in the background. That was my lover at the time. His name was Dan. He's from Switzerland. And so we called his character Plant Boy. And we just started having him walk around for no reason on the back of the set as we're shooting, whether it was a sex scene or dialogue scene, with a big giant plant in his hand. And he would just walk through the set with a plant. And we called him Plant Boy.
That's
I don't know, I just decided to throw him in there.
that's too funny.
There's lots of all kinds. There's like all kinds of little in jokes.
I do have, man, we have 2.5 minutes left.
Okay.
I have to ask you something, and I'm not going to be able to pronounce this correctly. Jean Pierre Ferrand?
Jean Pierre Ferrand. His real name
Ferrand.
was Felix Phil Vosa. He was my best friend and my partner in crime with Immaculate Video Conceptions. We did everything together. We co-wrote, co-directed, co-produced. I was in a lot of films that's where I met him. He directed a film that I did with Mike Horner. And there was a scene that I did. I can't remember it. I have to send it to you. But the dialogue, I delivered it. He said just so perfectly. He was spellbound by my performance, and we ended up becoming friends. And so he would put me in all of his movies, whether it was dialogue role or a sex scene. And I did this one called Carnival of Flesh where I played a gypsy and nobody even knows it's me. I'm like undercover. So he became my partner in crime, and he ended up passing away of a heart attack in, I think, 2002 or 2003. It was a very sad moment for me.
He was another cult film artistic genius, and we have done a couple of his movies on Squeaky Clean Adult Films. Today, Sunday is one of our release days. We just released The Dreams in the Forbidden Zone, which he wrote. And so in the last couple weeks, or at least in the last week, I've been doing Tyffany Million research and the Forbidden Dreams in the Forbidden Zone research, and it was so weird that they overlapped because when I'm looking at Immaculate Video Conceptions, his name is all over all your movies, the ones
Yeah,
you produced, directed, and wrote. And I was
he
just
was
like,
my
oh, that
partner in crime.
it's so cool for those two worlds to combine. All right, so now we have less than 60 seconds. So thank
Okay.
you so much, Tiffany. We have a whole Zoom, an intermission on a phone, and then a second whole Zoom. So I'll make a lot of cool stuff from this, but thank you for sitting down with me and doing this. Thank you.
Oh, it's been my absolute pleasure. And if you find any little gaps or anything, let me know. We can always shoot another one to fill in any gaps.
Okay. All right. Legend, badass, 1 in a million, Tiffany Million.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. We're going to get cut off, but you have my phone number if you ever need me.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And
So,
you have mine too.